She's lying, Dad. She's always hated me. Those words slithered out of her mouth with a smirk sharp enough to cut glass. His daughter's eyes glistened with fake innocence, her voice trembling just enough to seem believable. And him, my husband, the man I trusted, stood there watching me like I was already guilty. Hi everyone. My name is Alina. And I learned the hard way that betrayal doesn't come from enemies. It comes from the people who swear they love you most. You'd think years of building a marriage, a home, a life together would mean something. But in one single evening, it all crumbled because a spoiled 20-year-old whispered poison into her father's ear. I remember that night in shards like broken glass. The living room light too bright, the silence too heavy, his face too cold. Alina, just pack your things. I can't do this anymore. His voice didn't shake. Mine did. What are you saying? You're throwing me out because she told you something? But he didn't answer. He just looked at her. His daughter, with that same blind, unconditional love he used to look at me with. That was the moment I realized I wasn't his priority anymore. I wasn't even his choice. The walls of our home seemed to echo with laughter that wasn't mine, with loyalty that wasn't his. And the cruelest part? He didn't even ask me what really happened. No defense. No second chance. Just exile. I packed in silence. Every sweater folded felt like a funeral. Every pair of shoes slipped into the suitcase felt like a betrayal stitched into leather. When the door slammed behind me, the night air hit me like ice. I stood there, suitcase in hand, my marriage crumbling at my feet, his daughter's triumphant smirk lingering in the shadows of the window. But let me tell you something, the world has a way of balancing debts. And theirs was heavy. Because 3 weeks later, when he came back to me asking if I had reflected, asking if I was ready to apologize and crawl back, I didn't just walk away. I made sure they both felt the weight of what they'd done. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning. I spent the first week in a friend's spare room, staring at the ceiling every night, wondering how years of love could collapse in a single breath. The silence was heavy, pressing into my chest. Every time my phone lit up, a part of me wished it was him saying he'd realized the truth. But it never was. Instead, it was his daughter's posts on social media that reached me. Mocking captions, little digs meant for me to see. Some women never learn their place. He wanted me broken. And for a moment I was. But pain has a strange way of sharpening you. The more I replayed that night, the more I realized. It wasn't just her lie that destroyed me. It was his choice to believe it. His silence. His betrayal. By the second week, something inside me had shifted. I wasn't crying anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was cold. Detached. The version of me that begged for his love had died the night he shut the door. That's when I started planning. I pulled out the box of documents I had kept safe for years. Financial papers, property records, proof of my contributions to everything we had built together. He thought I'd leave with nothing. He thought he could erase me. But he underestimated the quiet woman he threw away. The third week was almost peaceful. I woke up early, cooked my own meals, and wrote in silence. Each day I grew steadier. Colder. Stronger. So when he finally showed up, standing at my friend's doorway with guilt painted across his face, I didn't tremble. Alina, he said softly, I think we both need to reflect. Maybe it's time you apologize and come home. The audacity. He wanted me to crawl back as if I had been the problem. I smiled, calm and deliberate. Actually, I whispered, handing him the neatly prepared envelope, I did reflect. His hands shook as he opened it. Divorce papers. And for the first time it was him left standing in the cold. For a moment he just stared at the papers, his jaw tight, his eyes darting between my face and the bold word at the top. Divorce. He laughed, but it wasn't real. It was the nervous kind of laugh a man makes when the ground shifts beneath his feet. Alina, this is ridiculous. You're upset. We don't need to go this far. I leaned against the doorframe, my arms folded, calm as the night air. You believed her lies without even asking me once. You threw me out like trash. And now you expect me to apologize. His voice rose, desperate. She's my daughter. What was I supposed to do? Ignore her. That sentence cut through me like a blade, but it also made everything clearer. His daughter had always come first. I was never his equal. I was just temporary. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. You were supposed to be my husband. You were supposed to know me better than anyone. But instead you chose her story over my truth. For the first time I saw something shift in his eyes. Fear. Not fear of losing me. Fear of losing the life I had built with him. The stability. The financial security. The woman who had kept the house, managed the bills, stood by him when no one else did. Alina, don't do this. Let's just talk. But I was done talking. My silence was louder than his begging. And then, as if on cue, she appeared. His daughter. Standing behind him, arms crossed, eyes full of venom. Good, she sneered. Finally, she's leaving for good. Dad, let her go. She was always jealous of me anyway. Her words didn't sting this time. They only fueled me. Because I could see it, the cracks forming in their alliance. He looked at her differently now. The smug grin on her face didn't soothe him. It made him uneasy. I almost pitied him. Almost. I simply whispered, "You'll regret this." Then I closed the door on both of them. But little did they know, I had already set everything in motion. The door clicked shut, but their voices lingered in the hallway. His muffled scolding, her sharp retorts. It was like music to me. For once, their perfect little father-daughter alliance was starting to crack. I leaned against the wall, steadying my breath. My hands didn't shake this time. My chest didn't ache. I was calm. Too calm. Because revenge isn't fire. It's ice. It waits, it chills, it spreads slow. Over the next few days, I executed every step I had quietly planned during those sleepless nights. I met with my lawyer, an old friend who didn't need much explanation to understand why I wanted this handled swiftly and mercilessly. We went through everything line by line. The house, the investments, the joint accounts. Half of it had my name etched into the paperwork. Contributions he had long dismissed as helping. Well, I had built as much of that empire as he had, maybe more. And then there was his business. His precious company. The one I had supported when it was nothing more than an idea scribbled on napkins. The one I had poured my savings into during the early years. He thought he owned it alone, but I had the receipts, the contracts, the bank transfers, the signatures. Legally, I wasn't just his wife. I was his silent partner. And now silence was over. When he realized what I was doing, he tried to stop me. Calls. Messages. Even showing up again. But I didn't answer. Every unanswered ring was another reminder. He had lost the right to my voice. And his daughter? Oh, she couldn't contain herself. He posted about me online, calling me bitter, desperate, pathetic. Each post only proved how insecure she was. Each word she spat only showed me that the real war hadn't even begun. But what neither of them knew, what made me smile in the quiet of the night, was that I wasn't just leaving with dignity. I was leaving with power. And soon they'd both learn what it felt like to lose everything they took for granted. The official court summons hit him like a storm. My lawyer delivered everything clean and sharp. Division of assets, proof of my financial stake, and a clear claim on what was rightfully mine. I imagined his face when he read it, how the smug certainty he once carried must have cracked. Because for him, divorce was supposed to be simple. Throw me out, watch me crawl, then dangle the promise of forgiveness when I was desperate enough. But I wasn't crawling. I was climbing. And he was the one sinking. 2 days later, I saw him waiting outside the courthouse, his expression torn between anger and desperation. Alina, please. You don't have to do this. Think about everything we built. I looked him straight in the eye. Exactly. We built it. Not you. Not her. And now I'm taking what I earned. His daughter was there too, arms folded, glaring at me like I had committed a crime. You're just greedy, she spat. You never loved him. You only cared about money. I almost laughed. Funny. I'm not the one who lied to ruin a marriage. She lunged forward, but he held her back, his voice low and frantic. Stop. You're making it worse. Worse. That word lingered. Because yes, things were about to get much worse for both of them. My lawyer filed everything flawlessly. Bank accounts frozen, assets tied up, property under review. For the first time, my husband wasn't in control. He was powerless. And every time his daughter screeched about it, I knew she felt powerless too. But the sweetest part wasn't the legal win. It was watching their perfect little bond unravel under the weight of consequences. He blamed her for lying. She blamed him for being weak. Their alliance had once pushed me out of my own home. Now it was eating them alive from the inside. And I wasn't finished yet. Because revenge isn't just about taking back what's yours. It's about making sure they never forget the price of betraying you. Court hearings began, and with every session, I watched his mask slip further. The confident man who once stood tall in our living room telling me to pack my things, now sat slouched in a suit, sweating under questions he couldn't answer. My lawyer tore through him like glass under a hammer. Every time he tried to downplay my role in the business, the evidence cut him down. Emails, receipts, contracts, all bearing his signature beside mine. He looked smaller with every revelation. And then there was her, his daughter. She never missed a hearing, sitting in the back with her arms folded, her glare burning into me. She wanted me to feel weak, invisible. But the longer she sat there, the more her bitterness showed. People whispered about her in the gallery, wondering why she looked so restless, so hateful, while I sat poised, unshaken. The turning point came during cross-examination. My lawyer asked him, "Did you or did you not remove your wife from the marital home without any discussion or proof of wrongdoing?" He stammered, his eyes flicking toward his daughter for help. But she couldn't answer for him. He was alone on that stand, choking on his own decisions. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just sat there, my silence screaming louder than any words could. Later that evening, as I walked out of the courthouse, his daughter followed me to the parking lot. Her voice dripped with venom. "You think you've won? You're pathetic. My dad will never forgive you." I turned, meeting her eyes without flinching. "He doesn't have to forgive me. But one day he'll realize who destroyed his marriage. And it wasn't me." For the first time her face faltered. Small but there. I got into my car, the cool leather wrapping around me like armor. The city lights blurred against the windshield, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. Because revenge wasn't just unfolding in the courtroom. It was unraveling in their home, behind closed doors, where trust between father and daughter was shattering. And I hadn't even delivered the final blow yet. The cracks widened faster than I expected. Word reached me through mutual friends. Their once perfect bond had soured. He began questioning her every word, every story, every late-night excuse. What once was blind trust had turned into suspicion. Apparently one night he snapped. "You ruined everything," he had shouted loud enough for the neighbors to hear. She screamed back, blaming me, blaming the court, blaming him for being weak. Their war wasn't quiet anymore. It was public. And I stayed silent. I didn't need to interfere. They were destroying each other beautifully. The second court hearing sealed it. The judge ruled in my favor for half the assets, and recognized my financial contributions to the business. His face turned gray as the words echoed in the chamber. His daughter stormed out halfway through, slamming the door so hard it rattled the walls. That night I received a message from him. Short. Pathetic. "Alina, please. We can fix this. Let's talk without the lawyers." I stared at the screen for a long time. Once upon a time I would have clung to those words. But now, they felt hollow, almost insulting. I didn't reply. Instead, I crafted my final act of quiet revenge. My lawyer and I arranged to transfer my share of the business into a trust. One that funded scholarships for women who had been abandoned or silenced. Every dollar that left his grasp became a weapon of memory. My pain turned into their freedom. When he found out, his rage was volcanic. Friends told me he yelled at his daughter, accusing her of pushing me to this point. She, in turn, screamed back that it was his fault for ever marrying me. Their alliance was ash, scattered in the wind. Me. I stood on the balcony of my new apartment, breathing in the cool night air, free and untouchable. I hadn't just left him. I had rewritten the ending. The last hearing felt less like a courtroom battle and more like a funeral, his funeral. Not of his body but of his pride, his power, his control. The judge's ruling was clear. I walked away with my rightful share of everything we built, and more importantly, I walked away free. He sat there, shoulders slumped, his daughter whispering furiously beside him, but even she couldn't hide the panic in her eyes. Their kingdom had crumbled, and neither of them knew how to rebuild it. When it was over, I didn't rush out. I stood, gathered my documents, and walked slowly past him. He lifted his eyes, red and wet, searching for something. Pity, forgiveness, maybe hope. I gave him nothing. Outside the courthouse she was waiting. His daughter. No smugness now. Just raw anger that looked a lot like fear. "You destroyed him," she hissed. I tilted my head, calm as ice. "No. He destroyed himself. You just helped him. Her face twisted, but she didn't answer. Because she knew. Deep down she knew. Weeks later I heard he sold the house I once turned into a home, just to cover legal fees. His business, once steady, began to falter without my quiet hand behind the scenes. And his daughter? She moved out, leaving him alone in a smaller apartment, bitter and broken. But I didn't watch from bitterness. I watched from distance, from strength. Because revenge isn't about screaming louder than the ones who hurt you. It's about living so fully that their betrayal becomes nothing more than a shadow in your light. And as I signed the final papers, the clerk slid them across the desk with a polite smile. It's finalized, she said. I traced my finger over the ink, closed the folder, and whispered to myself,